Hello guys, and welcome to the Trading Journal from Vertical Spread for Friday the 11th of December. My name is David and I'm also known as the Spread Doctor. As you can see from the heat map, it was a mixed bag in the equity markets today, and by the closing bell, most of the indices closed about flat. The Dow was up about 0.16%. The Nasdaq was down by 0.23%, and the S&P 500 was down by 0.13%. So there wasn't much movement in the markets today in terms of where the indices closed. The highlight of the week for me was this week saw two big IPOs hit the equity markets. The first one, Dash, I spoke about on Wednesday, and the second one was Airbnb. I'm sure we're all familiar with Airbnb, the rental company. Airbnb IPO'd yesterday, and the Airbnb IPO has been the largest IPO of 2020. And the share price popped by 113% on its market debut. So now Airbnb is undoubtedly a very well-run company. It is a leader in the short-term rental space, and it also has been the fastest hospitality company to see a rebound from COVID-19. But very importantly, it is also an asset-light company. And I do get the attraction of the Airbnb strategy. They don't have that many assets, they're tech-driven, they're very innovative, but they also have some headwinds. They have the regulators on their tails from Venice to Barcelona to United States to United Kingdom, etc. And the regulators are claiming that Airbnb, for one, is not paying enough taxes, and many of their clients who are renting out their properties through Airbnb are not paying as much tax as they would have paid if they had rented out the property normally. However, regardless of what you think about the Airbnb business model, what about the valuation the market is putting on Airbnb? So as at the close today, the market cap of Airbnb is $83 billion. That's billion with a B, 83. And to put that number in some context, Hilton Worldwide Holdings, that owns Hilton Hotels, has a market cap of 29 billion. Intercontinental Hotels Group has a market cap of 11.5 billion. And Marriott Worldwide Hotels has a market cap of 5.5 billion. In other words, you combine the market cap of Hilton, Intercontinental and Marriott, and you get just about above 50% of the market cap of Airbnb. I had a quick glance at Hilton's balance sheet for comparison, and I noticed that their assets listed on their balance sheets, which consist of land, buildings, other property, plant and equipment, is valued at 15 billion. And Airbnb's total assets are valued at 8 billion, which is about half of Hilton's assets. Now, as I mentioned in one of my earlier journals a few weeks ago, I'm not one who believes in conspiracy theories. But if I did believe in conspiracy theories, I might read something into something that happened earlier this week. And I talked about it in Wednesday's journal. So the work from home stocks were downgraded earlier this week by a Wall Street firm. And the downgrade came about 2 or so days before these IPOs hit the market. And the stocks that were downgraded were CrowdStrike, Okta, DocuSign, Zoom, and Cloudflare. All of them were downgraded, and they're all initially sold off on the downgrade. Now, I'd be very surprised if some of the money that came out of these stocks did not go into Airbnb, and Dash. That said, I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions about the valuations that Wall Street is slapping on these IPOs and the SPACs in particular. There have been so many SPACs IPOs this year. And also the timing or the coincidence of the downgrade of these stocks that have skyrocketed this year, just a few days before Wall Street was bringing two new companies onto the market. And I shall leave it there. Moving on to the VIX. So the VIX was up today. The VIX was up by 3.5% to close at 2331. So the VIX is not only holding up above 20, it's beginning to creep up gradually as well. I think that's down to the politics in Washington, and the lack of an agreement on a stimulus package is beginning to raise the uncertainty gauge. And that's part of the reason why the VIX was up today. In terms of trade ideas, I had one new trade idea today in ARKK, but I did not get a fill in it. I put in an order to sell the January 21 110.105 put spread, and I was looking to get a credit of about $1.30, but I didn't get filled in my order, and I'll be looking to put the order on again next week, provided IV remains high, and I may have to move the strikes around a bit next week in order to get a fill. That said, there are now 35 days until the January contract expires, and I do have a few stocks that I'm watching for trade ideas, so hopefully I should be able to convert some of them into positions next week. And that takes me on to my open positions. I now have 2 open positions in the Jan 21 contract, and those positions are in mRNA and PDD. And I'll review those positions one by one, starting with mRNA. So with mRNA, I sold the 115-110 put spread for a credit of $2. Let's see where mRNA closed today. So mRNA closed at $156.93. I'm short the 115 strike, so 115 put strike. So my short 115 put is conveniently out of the money, and no action is required on this one. In terms of my P&L, open P&L on this position, I'm going to go to my portfolio tab, and for mRNA, this is my open P&L. I have a positive P&L of $93 per contract, so the total open P&L, the gain is $462.50, and I have got 5 contracts, as you can see here, and that works out to a positive $93 P&L, open P&L for this position. My second open position is in PDD, and on this one I sold the 170-175 call spread for a credit of $1.35. So PDD closed at $147.65. I am short the 170 call, and my short call is also conveniently out of the money. In terms of my P&L on this one, I have an open P&L of positive $225, and that works out about $45 per contract. On this one I also have 5 contracts. So no action required on either position. Both of them are conveniently out of the money. And that takes me onto my watch list. On my watch list, I've got quite a few items today. I have got ARKK, EBS, MSTR, PDD, UNG, SBE, and QDEL. And I'll quickly run through them. So the first one is ARKK. I tried to put a position on in this one today. I put an order in actually, but I never got filled. So ARKK currently trading at 123, or closed at 123.87. Implied volatility 73. Let's call it 74. And I'm hoping to get a position in this next week. Excuse me. The second on my list is EBS. EBS has got implied volatility of 67. I think this is a fairly new company. That's why I haven't done anything in this so far. The third one is MSTR. MSTR has implied volatility of 65, and that's why that's on my radar. The next one is PDD. I already have a position in PDD, but implied volatility is 58. If anyone is looking to put on a position who hasn't got a position, this is still a good candidate for selling a spread. Implied volatility is high, it's fairly liquid, it's got 3 stars, so you might be able to put on something in that one. UNG, natural gas. Energy has been on a tear this week. Crude oil and natural gas have been flying. This one has got implied volatility of 53. It's a low valued ETF. That's why I haven't done anything in this one. SBE, Switchback Energy Acquisition. This is a spec. I tend not to do anything in specs at the moment because they're still fairly new. This is less than a year, probably came to market sometime this year. It's fairly liquid, implied volatility 52, but it just hasn't got enough history for me to want to do something on it. It's fairly new. And the final one is QDEL. Oops. QDEL, $202. Implied volatility is 51. I think the spreads on QDEL is pretty wide. That's why I think I haven't done anything in it. Let's have a look at the spread on this. It's not too bad actually. I might have a look at this next week. 1720 to 860. Well, as you go further down the chain, you can see, I mean, look at this one here, the 190 strike, 1190 to 1530. That's quite wide. But yeah, I might be able to do something next week. It's on my watch list anyway, so I'm definitely going to look at it next week. And that brings me to the end of my journal for today. The main highlight today, I guess, is I did put in a trade idea today in ARKK. I did not get filled in it. However, if anyone did get filled, please let me know via the forum so I can add it to my my synthetic positions and cover the position on a weekly basis. And like I said, we have 35 days left, so I still have 5 days to find some good trade ideas for the January contracts, and I'm hoping to get 1 or 2 before the time runs out in terms of my window of opportunity. I hope you enjoyed listening to my journal. You can leave me any questions or comments below, and have a great weekend. Thank you. Goodbye.